Hey, vinyl community people and all my music loving friends. It's Mike MGK Boston back with another video, probably the last one of the year. In fact, I know it's the last one of the year. Tomorrow is that last day of the year, in case you weren't aware already. It's called New Year's Eve. I hope you're going to have a good time doing whatever you're doing, or if you're just hanging out listening to music, here's some good recommendations. So today I just want to talk about an artist that I never see mentioned in the vinyl community. And it's relative to a Christmas gift I got from the best gift giver ever. That's Patty. If you watched my launch video for my contest, you're already aware of who she is. And as I noted, she's a great gift giver. Birthdays, Christmas, doesn't matter, whichever. So yeah, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk a bit about the contest and where we're at. It's running swimmingly, if you will. So today, at first, I want to talk about a guy. It's relative to a Christmas gift I got too. It's a musician. If you don't know him, I'm going to explain a bit about him. It's Mike Oldfield. He's from England. Came up in the 70s. Multi-instrumentalist, could play any instrument. And he did his kickoff he made when he was 17 or 18 was this, and it's called Tubular Bells. This is a compact disc copy. I would warn you, this video is a hybrid. It will contain compact discs and records. So anyway, he did this whole thing on his own when he was 17, 18 years old, and he was trying to shop the tapes around, and he somehow ran into Richard Branson. They kind of became friends. Branson let Oldfield stay at his manor, and he had a studio out there as well. And they were shopping the tapes around to no luck. And then apparently John Peel heard them. They got together one night for dinner, and he's like, "You got it. This has got to get signed. You got to get this out there." And so Branson, being the entrepreneur that he was, the billionaire you love to hate maybe, but he's one of the more likable billionaires, I guess. I take him over Jeff Bezos. But anyway, Branson was like, well, screw this. He had a failing magazine that wasn't doing well at all, Branson that is, and so he started a record label, and he started this record label right here, and it's called Virgin. You can see this is from the CD collection of You Know Who. This is Tubular Bells, so it's two parts, part one on side A, part two on side two if it's the record, and otherwise it's all flows through on this compact disc here. Release date on this one, 1973. So this became a really surprise success, if you will. There's a young Mike Oldfield on the inside. So when they put this out, immediately it was picked up. The American filmmaker William Friedkin, who I think was William Friedkin, or he might have written, was it Peter Blatty directed The Exorcist? Either or, it doesn't matter. They adopted Tubular Bells for the soundtrack for the Exorcist film, and that even heightened it to bigger fame and fortune. And of course, Mike Oldfield even won a Grammy for this, and he was not even 20 yet. So, notoriously shy guy. He refused to play it live, wouldn't do interviews, but later on in years, he came out of his shell a bit and performed live and did other things that I'll talk about as well. But this is Tubular Bells, and this was his debut. Just a real rags to riches story. He just was a very determined young guy, Mike Oldfield that is, and got this out there. And to this day, it's still extremely popular. And Mike Oldfield, rightly or wrongly, is blamed for launching the whole New Age movement. You could call that like the Windham Hill stuff, bookstore background music. Sorry, Aaron, over at Square the Circle. I know you like the Windham Hill stuff. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. I don't mind a bit of it myself, but this is not Windham Hill stuff. It's a little more sophisticated, if you will. It's not an easy listen, but you have a good stereo. Get it on there and put your headphones on even and zone out. It's really excellent. So this is his debut. It's Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells. He did do a sequel to this, Tubular Bells 2 and Tubular Bells 3. I don't like either of them. I think 3 came out sometime in the 90s. They're just not very good, and I don't have those in my collection. So I have this, the debut, Tubular Bells. So yeah, definitely check that out. So then the follow-up to that was a record called Hergest Ridge. I do not have that. I do have the follow to Hergest Ridge, which would have been his third release, and this is called Omadon. So I had a copy of this years ago. It was one of those I lent to somebody, and then I moved, never got it back. So I was at a record show in Burlington, and I'm actually going to the same show coming up Sunday, January 8th, and I'll be there around 10:30 a.m. I usually like to hang for a few hours, just walk around talking to people and walk out with a bag of records. So if you're in the area, I know my friend Stan watches these videos. He doesn't have a channel, but I met him at the last show. So Stan, if you're going, I'll be there around 10:30 up there at the Hilton Garden Inn. So, but anyway, this is his third. It's called Omadon. It's also in two parts. Of course, part one on side A, part two on side two. And this is, there's young Mike Oldfield on the front, looking real spaced out. Just a really odd ball, like a very introverted guy, but just a hyper intelligent and talented individual. So again, Omadon, the name of this release. Let's get on the inside here and see. So you can see all the personnel involved with it, including Mike Oldfield's brother, Terry. I think I'm not sure if he played some bass guitar on this. And Mike Oldfield's sister, and that's Sally right there. And then there's this Hereford pipe band, these African drum trio here. There was a small children's choir. So this is what's different. I've only heard just Ridge. I had a copy of that on cassette. It was kind of in middle ground between Omadon and Tubular Bells, if you will. But this has just some moments. There's Mike right there, sitting in a field, it looks like at night, thinking about things. But this is definitely, it's more hopeful, if you will, for an adjective, because it just builds, and there's this beautiful choir at points in it, cool drum beats from the African trio that are really almost tribal, really, really wild. It's just all over the place. And again, really hopeful moments. And then there's moments that are more contemplative and low, and it's just hills and valleys, if you will, right? I'm not a musician. I don't really know how to explain that, but you really have to just listen to it yourself and draw your own conclusions. But again, it's Omadon, huge personnel. And again, I watched an Omadon documentary recently about the production of it and how he did it, and it's really cool. So yeah, there's a couple of good documentaries on Mike Oldfield. There's a really excellent 60-minute BBC production. If you just do BBC documentary Mike Oldfield, that'll pop up for you on YouTube. So I want to circle back because I said this is relative to a Christmas gift by the #1 gift giver, and that's Patty. And this is when he returned to Omadon, and he returned to Omadon in 2017 when this was released. So this is a beautiful package on 180 gram vinyl. Take it out of there. So this has, again, at the 13-minute mark on side 1 of this, if you want to stream it and check it out, it's got, again, these tribal drum beats, and this almost looks like a Viking guy. And that's what made me, when I listened to this, because I just got this at Christmas, and I just watched this Viking movie with Alexander Skarsgård. If you look it up on Internet Movie Database, I should have written the name down for the video here, but I didn't, and I can't think of the name of the film. But Skarsgård plays this Viking, and of course he's out for revenge. It's an excellent movie. But this almost has Viking themes to it. When I was listening to it, it almost sounded like the soundtrack for the film that I had just watched. And again, you can see this looks like a Viking dude down here. He's got his shield, and there's this big beast here beside him. And then whatever this is, I don't know if they're going to see Odin, their god, or what's going on the cover here, but it's just really interesting cover art. So this is very similar to Omadon, but it's not a repeat. He keeps the creativity level going. Unlike the sequels to Tubular Bells, this is actually, I think, a step above. And on the inside here, beautiful photos on the inside, on the inner gatefold. All the instruments, as I said, he was just a studio guru. Just living in the studio and playing around and just doing different things. Really excellent guitarist. I can't play an instrument, I just can talk about it. But any of my friends out there that are musicians in the vinyl community, try some Mike Oldfield. He's got a really unique style of playing guitar, that is. It's his primary instrument, but he plays everything else. Into the 80s, I'll talk about his 80s pop stuff in a minute. He used, most of the time, session drummer Simon Phillips, who played with Pete Townsend on Pete Townsend solo records, among others. So there you can just see there's cool on the inner vinyl there on the record. So again, it's, as you can see here, Return to Omadon 1, and then Return to Omadon Part 2 on side 2. So yeah, a really great gift. I was really happy to get that. Of course, from Patty, great gift giver. And again, it's Return to Omadon, and I'd be remiss if I don't point out this shirt again. It's not hoarding if it's vinyl. That was another Patty gift. Be added to the Mike Kelly Summer 2023 exclusive t-shirt collection. But it's not that exclusive. You could probably go on Etsy and get this shirt yourself if you really like it. So again, I'm going to talk quickly about some of his 80s stuff. So this is 1982, the release date on this one. And this is called Discovery. This is a compact disc copy of this, obviously, again, from your library, yours truly. Some great moments on this. So at this point, he had added in a vocalist rather. So he had a woman named by the name of Maggie Riley. She was from Scotland. Don't know where he discovered her. There's not much background to her. She wasn't really in a band, but a really talented vocalist, and he brought her on board for probably the bulk of the decade, that is the 80s. And you could hear her vocal stylings on the opening track, among others. To France is a really good one on this. Poison Arrows, there's a male vocalist. I'm trying to think of what his name was. Crystal Gazing is another track on this. It's really good. I'm looking in the credits here, trying to find the gentleman's name that sings Poison Arrows. Barry Palmer. Yeah, Barry Palmer. You can see here in the credits. Vocals, Maggie Riley and Barry Palmer. So that track, Poison Arrows, look that up. That's a great tune. Barry Palmer has a great voice. Don't know him from anything else other than working with Mike Oldfield. There's a young Mike Oldfield again, always hanging out in the studio. There he is right there. And there's the track listing. Crystal Gazing's another good one on this. And yeah, The Lake is really good too. And that's just like it says, that's an instrumental track that closes it out. So yeah, to get that back in there. Yeah, that's Mike Oldfield, Discovery. Release date on this one, I want to say 1982. All right, and continuing on, I think this one is 82, same year. I think Discovery might have been 81, but I could be off on that. Hard to read the print. The print is so small on CDs, and I'm just getting older. So this is 5 Miles Out, the name of this one. This is a real masterpiece too. There's really nothing bad about this. It's only got 6 songs on it, and there's a couple instrumentals here, like you got Taurus 2 is an instrumental on this. Or Abidu is predominantly instrumental, but it also has some vocals by Maggie Riley on it. And so here's an interesting side note. Anybody recognize that song? Family Man. So guess who covered Family Man? You know. Hall & Oates. Who would have guessed? So everybody thinks that that's a Hall & Oates original. That's a Mike Oldfield song. There they are on the inside. The guys, I just thought I'd show this as an interesting side note. And and here it is. There you go. See Family Man right there, and that's Hall & Oates. There they are right there. I watch this show live at Daryl's house, and Daryl Hall has this studio up in upstate New York in this farmhouse. If you've never seen it, I was thinking about making this video today, and I was like, what would it be like if a guy like Mike Oldfield showed up one day and tried to jam with Daryl? Mike Oldfield, when you see him in interviews, he's just so introverted. You know, he's not a party guy at all, very serious. And the videos live at Daryl's house, like there's one with Joe Walsh, it's just hilarious the way they carry on, and it's really funny. I just thought, you know, I had to laugh to myself. Mike Oldfield at Daryl's house would be a pretty funny episode, but I doubt it'll happen. So anyway, that was just an interesting side note. So again, they covered that Mike Oldfield Family Man on that record, H2O. And what year did H2O come out? 83. Yeah, right after they must have done that cover. So yeah, so anyway, just these are all like studio notes you can see on the inside. Really nice gatefold. And there's some pictures. There's Oldfield and some of the band and other people involved in the project. And there he is alone with all his instruments. There's the big drum there, the hand drum. But yeah, really cool. And again, that's called 5 Miles Out, and that's Mike Oldfield. All right, and lastly, I'll show one more from the 80s, and this is called Crises. All these seem to come out between 82 and 84. And this is Crises, like I said, really cool cover artwork on this. His cover art was always really neat. And some of the highlights on this. In High Places is not a highlight because John Anderson is actually singing on that one. John Anderson from Yes performs on this. I don't know if he got involved somehow, but he's just on that one track. I just find John Anderson, his voice is really grating, and that's why I'm not a big Yes guy. I like prog, but I just can't do a lot of Yes, and I've really tried. It's almost like when I say I've tried to listen to bluegrass music, I just can't do it. But you know, maybe I have to try harder, but I don't think I will with John Anderson. A couple other tracks on this that are really good. Foreign Affair, again, that's with Maggie Riley singing on that one. And Mistake kicks this off, and that's really good. Really just good, polished pop music, but I wouldn't put this in the same category as like a Hall & Oates. It's definitely different. It was not commercial at the time. This was far from top 10 hits, but it's really, really listenable. Moonlight Shadow, too, has been covered by a couple of people, and that's an original on here as well. That Maggie Riley sings on that. And of course, like I said, the drummer, Simon Phillips, if you can see his name there, he plays all throughout this, plays drums. And like I said, on all these 80s projects with Mike Oldfield, Simon Phillips was involved.
Right.
So as a final
it's your
thing,
wife making a guest appearance
Oh,
from
it's
the
Patty.
beer fridge.
Yeah.
I need the cheesecake
The
because
cheesecake?
I'm making a cheesecake
all right.
for New Year's Eve for our guests. So could you please just pass me the cream cheese from the beer fridge? So
yeah,
you were so
sure.
kind to let me store in the beer fridge.
All right, guys, hold on a second here. I am getting it.
There's a whole box of them.
Is there cheese? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I'm sorry for this interruption, guys.
Yeah, sorry everybody.
Yeah.
I gotta keep baking.
Okay, there you go.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, great work, Patty. There she is, guys. You didn't have to wait till next weekend. That's Patty. So yeah, we had overflow with Christmas and everything. I have a beer fridge in my music room here. So Patty, some of her baking supplies made their way in here. So there you have it, a cameo appearance unplanned by Patty. So where was I? Speaking of Patty. Yeah, so today, well, I should say earlier this week, there's another channel, Matthew Street, just calls himself Matt. He put this really funny video out where he had to go and he'd just come back from the dentist. He had a terrible toothache all Christmas weekend and had to have a root canal. So I had a dentist appointment scheduled for this morning. First thing, just like I like to do at 8 a.m. and I had to get not one, but 2 fillings. And I'm a crybaby. I get a lot of empathy from my teenage daughter, my wife. They're like, you got to go and just suck it up and deal with it. Because the drilling and everything, it's just, Matt Street in his video had an actual drill and I was laughing my ass off, but I was not laughing this morning in the dentist chair. And so I'm in the dentist chair and this comes on. I just can't. And it was, which was all, Making Love and Nothing at All. That came on and I was in the dentist chair and I'm like, that's just too ironic because as you know with my contest, there's Patty right there. That came on and you know when you're in the dentist, the music is always unbearable as the experience at the dentist is too. I don't know why they do that. It's like it's a double torture. But this is just a funny frame. When we were dating over 20 years ago, we were still living in Canada. I used to go to this store for my American friends. It'd be like Pier 1 or one of those stores that sells overstock of all this crap that you don't need, kitchen supplies, picture frames like this one. And I remember saying, what loser would have this? And then, you know, we went out a couple of weeks later and she gave this to me for a gift, like a gag gift, and I've always kept it. So this is back when she was my girlfriend. This Patty. Thought that was a funny add-on. Plus, you got to see me pulling the cream cheese out of the beer fridge. She's in there making another cheesecake. She's an excellent baker. If you ever find yourself in the Boston area, come by and we'll give you some baked goods. But anyway, we got some friends coming over for New Year's Eve, so the party never ends here in Metro West section of Boston. So I also wanted to give a quick, on that party note, quick update on the contest. So far, I've got 14 entries. They're all stellar. Kicked it off with Rachel Ghost and her partner Sue, Jack at the Vinyl Martini, Matthew Street, like I just said, a friend of mine. He made a great video with a virtual Mrs. Street. He had her in there. Down Under Tunage with John and his wife, Mrs. D, Pat Johnson and his wife, Krista, back in Ontario, an old friend of mine and guitar player, Jack's Tracks. His channel, he put together one. He had his mom in it. Robert's on my turntable. Robert threw one in. Thank you, Robert. Another guy from Ontario, Canada. Sam St. John, Garage Geek, just did one right around Boxing Day. Well, we call Boxing Day when I lived in Canada on the 26th. That video popped up. I was a little concerned because with the holiday in here, there weren't a lot of videos, and then boom, they started flowing in again. And of course, the great Rob over at Northern Revolutions. He's from my wife's hometown in Ontario. He had a virtual. His fantasy wife was in the video. You'll have to go watch the video. I won't tell you who his fantasy wife is. You'll have to go and watch that yourself. And that's Rob over at Northern Revolutions. It was hilarious. I said it before. I'll say it again. It was really funny. And Jimmy Barnes over in the UK. He had his mom in there. That was really good. Her name's Christine. You know, ironically, my wife Patty has a Susan Boyle CD. Thank God we can't find it. We've moved a couple of times cross country with job transfer and whatnot. And the Susan Boyle CD was sadly lost in one of those moves. But yeah, yet to be replaced, hopefully not replaced. And most recently, 2 days ago, Mike, another Mike, PC31, the Vinyl Policeman. He was did a great video. Didn't know he could play guitar, but there he was, kicking out a Kinks Christmas song at the end with his wife Karen. Great job to both of you. And then this just in, hot off the presses, as they say. Just last night, my friend Gary from Ohio, Physical Format Rock and Roll channel, and his wife Amy in the video as well. You two, you look like you're fun people, so if you're ever in Boston, look us up. We could go to a concert, have some fun, whatever. But yeah, and my wife loves Joe Burrows, by the way, Amy. That's her fantasy guy, other than me, of course. But anyway, remember, it's not hoarding, it's vinyl. I'm going to say Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you enjoyed that cameo appearance with Patty getting the Philadelphia cream cheese. That's pretty hilarious. That'll look funny on playback. And yeah, keep entering the contest. We've got 1 week from tomorrow. So Saturday, January 7th, I'll do that draw, and we'll find out who the lucky winner is. Again, if you have someone in that video with you, you get 3 entries in the hat. Gary included that in his video, so good detail there, Gary. I like that. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video with the slight interruption for the baking supplies. Sorry about that, but it adds to the comedy. And I'll see you guys on the other side, which will be 2023. All the best.